Just almost 40 minutes of non-stop music. Sunday morning, it is the 23rd of July. It's Ace of Ace and Don't Turn Around.
Welcome to episode 6 of How to Get Into Radio. And in this one, I just want to share some of my thoughts of what can help you pre-interview, interview and going forward in your radio career. First and most important, I want you to succeed. That's what I want. I want you to do well. No matter your age or your skill level or what you've done before, if radio is a dream, then I believe this series of videos will help you. Whether you have a passion for hosting a talk show, you want to do news journalism, or you want to do current affairs or a music show, this series will help you to find your groove. So make sure that you like and subscribe and stay close as we get new episodes of the series coming through. So the key steps and skills, including pre-interview preparation, the necessary skills in determining your readiness to apply for a radio job, we'll cover in this short video here. Number one is pre-interview preparations. So before you even start or before you even go for an interview, this is where you start. The first thing you need to do is research the radio industry. Take a bit of time to get to know what kind of radio stations are out there and what kind of radio station you think you'll fit in. Remember, Zane and Nick were both talking about knowing your brand, knowing your personality and your skill set, and finding a radio station that will suit you. You can familiarize yourself with different kinds of radio formats: talk radio, music radio, adult contemporary, youth radio, whatever it is, community radio, community of interest radio. Find out what kind of radio station suits you and where you think you can most make an impact and get listeners for the radio station, which is the job of any radio presenter. Now, a good thing for you to do is to study successful radio personalities. Do a bit of research. Find out what made them successful. In South African context, someone like Alex J., John Burks, these kind of guys were very successful. Martin Bailey, Ian DeForce, all of these guys, they were really successful. It might be worthwhile just having a look at their careers and see how their careers developed so that you can perhaps learn a thing or two before you even apply for a radio job of what made them successful and how you can take some of that knowledge that they had and some of that experience that they had and use it in your context. Also, another thing that I advocate is copy them until you find your own groove. When I first started on radio, there was a very successful radio presenter in the UK that I kind of modeled my presentation style on until eventually I found my own personal way of doing a radio show. Also, another thing to do is keep up to date with trends in radio, so current trends in the industry, be it technical, like the equipment they use in studio, or the kinds of things that radio stations are doing. When I started in 1996 on commercial radio, things were very different to the way they are now. Also, the presentation style changed a lot. Back in those days, it was very much play the music and you talk to the audience, whereas nowadays it's play the music, inform, entertain, and it's very much a two-way conversation with the audience talking to you almost as much as you're talking to them. So know some of those skills and know some of those innovations and advancements in the radio industry. The second step I want you to think about is building your on-air persona, finding out what kind of on-air persona you want. So, as we said before, determine the kind of radio show you want to do, and then find ways to adapt your personality and your strengths to create an on-air persona. Define your unique voice and your personality. If you're funny and you like to tell jokes and you know your comedic timing is very good, that could be a very strong part of how you present a radio show. If you know how to connect with people and tell stories, engage intimately with an audience, that could be a big part of it as well. If you're very factual and you're great at statistics and you know how to get to the facts of anything, these are all strengths that could be used to help you find that radio show and to deliver a fantastic radio show. Also, practice delivering engaging content and develop a sense of timing. Now, the way to do this is think of a topic that you'd like to cover, write it down into a script, and then read it out loud. Read it over and over and over until eventually you don't have to read it anymore. You're able to just say it and then develop ways of how you can use your intonation and your words and your tone in your voice and the timing of how you deliver that If you practice this beforehand, by the time you get onto your very first radio show, this will be a second skill to you. It'll be second nature. It'll be like using your hands. And it's such a valuable thing. And a lot of program managers, particularly on commercial radio stations, when they hire you, they are busy doing 1,000 things. They need to know that they can trust you when you turn on the mic. So if you've done a bit of practice, it's going to stand in your stead. The third thing in this section is build a knowledge base. Develop a broad understanding on various topics. Now, in commercial radio, you don't need to be an expert on any one subject, but you need to know a little bit about almost everything, from economics, the petrol price, inflation, what is the GDP of the country, how much is the rand dollar worth, to travel, to mechanics, to music, whatever it is. If you have a basic understanding of each one of those different aspects that could be engaging content to your audience, you stand a good chance of getting that radio job. Stay informed by reading newspapers, reading blogs online, listen to podcasts, listen to other radio stations, and stay informed, stay up to date. This week in Johannesburg, we had a gas explosion. And I must be honest, I went on air tonight and I was trying to talk about it, but I didn't really know too much about it. So I went off and I did a bit of reading before I spoke about it so I wouldn't say something that was blatantly incorrect. And last but not least, hone your research skills to gather relevant information quickly. A lot of times, like I said tonight, I had to research something quickly. So I found the salient details, the things that I would need as fast as I possibly could and put them together in a way that I could present it on air. To the audience, it sounds like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. But behind the scenes, I've gathered the information quickly. Learn to do that before you even apply for a radio job. What are some of the essential skills for radio? Well, some of the things you're going to need is strong communication skills. You need to develop excellent verbal and vocal skills, such as clarity, diction, enunciation, where you place the emphasis on words, pronouncing words correctly. I know that for a lot of people, English may not be your first language, and so there's no grammar police that are going to say to you, no, you have to do it this way. But if you're able to adapt, even if English isn't your first language, and you're able to pronounce words correctly, it stands you in good stead, because English is such a universal language, whether you're in France or Germany, wherever you are. If you are able to speak English clearly and pronounce words correctly, it's a massive benefit. Learn to modulate your voice as in highs and lows. You'll often see if I'm doing a show and I'm playing a really good rock song or a really good party song, I'm not going to go in and say, hey, this is whatever radio station. I go, hey, this is East Coast Radio, for instance, where I'm working at the moment. This is how it's going. If I'm sharing a story about something tragic or something serious, I'll probably lower my tone. So excitement and energy goes higher tone, something more serious. And if I want to engage, I want to bring the audience really close, I'll lower my voice tones and just use the highs and lows in your voice. You can't speak in a monotone. Monotone is boring. It's like listening to a dial tone. Nobody wants to do that. So you learn to use the highs and lows in your voice and practice active listening. A lot of times you'll have a co-presenter in studio with you, or a news person in studio with you, or a traffic person, or you'll have a caller on the line phoning you. And if all you're doing is listening so that you can speak next, you're probably going to miss some very important stuff. So practice to listen to what the person's saying so you can formulate an educated response. Secondly, in this section, creativity and content development. Learn to generate fresh, interesting, entertaining ideas. So if you had a 3-hour show, write down first hour, second hour, third hour, and what kind of things in that hour are you going to do? Be it a game or maybe a quiz, or maybe you'll take a current topic and start a talking point. Learn how to put that together and create incredibly fun and entertaining ways to engage with your audience and get them to speak back to you. Also, develop skills in writing, storytelling, and improvisation. A lot of times people take a story off a website and they'll just read it as it stands, and that's boring. It's plagiarism, but it's boring. Read the story on the website, rewrite it or reframe it, or think, this is how I want to tell the story, and bring your personality into it. And master the art of creating hooks, teasers, and segues. A hook is, it's almost like a headline of what I'm going to be telling you about. Later on the show, we'll find out how you can make R1 million in less than 30 days. That's a hook. I've got you hooked. A teaser is, in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you how you can make R1 million really quickly. So you've given them a time frame. A segue was, right, so I was telling you how you could make R1 million. Here's how. You're linking one thing to the next. Learn how to do those. Third, in this section, technical proficiency. This is something I had to work really hard at when I first started in radio. Understand the mixing desk, understand the microphone, how to use the microphone, understand the headphones, understand the on-air software. I've done a video on the hardware, which you can watch here on the screen. I'm going to be doing a video on the playback software, or one of the examples of playback software, which I'll upload soon so you can have a look. Our last episode we did in this series was all about the hardware in a studio. And if you know this before you even apply for a radio job, by the time you get into that interview, if the program manager brings you into the studio, you can go, cool, I know this. I know those are the mic channels. I know these are the music channels. Here's my news microphone. Here's my PC microphone. If I want to do an outside broadcast, this is the channel that I use. If you have those skills before you even apply, that program manager is going to think, wow, this person is amazing. Last and not least, assessing whether or not you're ready to approach a radio station. Firstly, one of the first things you need to do is gain experience. Consider volunteering or doing an internship at either a community or a campus or a commercial radio station. If they offer internships, get in there. Go and say, I want to learn. You know, you're not going to get paid for it, but the value of the experience you're going to get will stand you instead for the rest of your career. Create your own podcast or your own online show or your own YouTube channel. If you have a track record of doing this kind of media, before you even apply for a job, you can say to the program manager in the interview, here's some of the stuff that I've done before. This is my podcast. This is my online radio show. This is my YouTube channel. And they can go and have a look and see you in action, and also attend industry events and workshops. So take time to go to conferences. If the radio station is having an event, go to it. Particularly the radio station you want to work at, go to any public event that they have, or if they have a talent search, make sure you go and show face. You know, Zane was telling us the story of one of the presenters on East Coast Radio who he met at a conference, who walked up to him and said, hi, I want to work for your radio station, and here's why. That's a great way to impress. Seek feedback. So once you've done these online shows or your YouTube channel, or you've practiced reading something, go and find someone that you think is going to be honest with you and say, hey, what do you think of this? And then be willing to accept negative feedback, because you're not going to be perfect straight off the bat. Also, talk to other radio professionals. You know, find radio DJs, and there's loads of them that are very approachable. Before I started in commercial radio, I spoke to two that were working on the station I wanted to get onto, and they gave me invaluable advice, and they were very open to sharing their advice with me. And then utilize online platforms such as social media to reach out to experienced personalities for guidance and for mentorship. Last but not least, develop a demo reel. Put together a show reel that shows off what you can do. Even if you're not on air, find yourself a production program such as Audacity, which is a free download. I'll put the link in the description down below, and download it, and then put together a mock radio show, no longer than 3 minutes. Not the whole song, play maybe the outro of a song, back announce it, a news story, a funny story, a competition. Put together a demo reel of about 3 minutes long that shows off your potential. If you were doing a radio show, this is what I would sound like. Okay, that's very important. Include a variety of content that demonstrates your unique personality. And if you are applying to a station like East Coast Radio, then make your demos sound like they were listening to East Coast Radio. If you're applying to a youth radio station, make it sound like that. If you're applying for a news job or news radio station, make your demos sound like the radio station you're trying to apply to. Ensure that your demo reel also, most importantly, reflects your unique personality. It's a lot of information. I hope it's helpful to you. We're going to keep doing this series until I run out of ideas. We've got some great presenters going to be sharing how they got into radio in the weeks that come as well. Don't give up on your dream. If you believe you have talent and you'd like to make it on radio, I hope these videos help you. Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video, and to all those who've subscribed, thank you to you, and thank you for sharing the channel as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the bottom down below, click subscribe, and also click the bell for notifications. Always striving to bring you some great content, and there's more to come.